Good morning everyone and welcome back to my channel English Literature. Today we will talk about Shakespeare's comedy Two Gentlemen of Verona, and we'll proceed through at first the chronological order of the main events that take place. Okay, and next we will talk about, so at first it will be chronological order of the incidents, the events. So we will have a look at the storyline, and next we will talk about the major characters, and finally we will hit some bullet points that will help us to understand the play and to keep some important notes regarding this play. So these are the steps through which we are going to talk about this drama. Okay, Two Gentlemen of Verona by William Shakespeare. Two gentlemen refers to Proteus and Valentine, two friends who lived in Verona. When the story starts, Valentine is talking to his friend Proteus about his leave taking from Verona for Milan. Valentine is about to leave Verona for Milan. He wants to do something in his life and he wants that his friend Proteus should join him. But Proteus is in love with Julia and Proteus does not want to accompany Valentine in Milan, leaving Verona and leaving Julia. So Valentine bids farewell to Proteus as he leaves for Milan, and Proteus does not want to go away from Verona as he is in love with Julia. The drama opens in this way. Valentine speaking. Cease to persuade my loving Proteus. Home-keeping youth have ever homely wits. Were not affection chains thy tender days? To the sweet glances of thy honoured love, I rather would entreat thy company. What does Valentine mean? Valentine means that if Proteus was not changed in Julia's love, then he must entreat him to go with him. Why? To see the wonders of the world abroad, than living dully sluggardized at home. Wear out thy youth with shapeless idleness. But since thou lovest, love still, and thrive therein, even as I would when I to love begin. So Valentine leaves Proteus in his condition, love-stricken. Now Proteus says, Wilt thou be gone? Sweet Valentine, adieu. Think on thy Proteus when thou haply seest some rare, noteworthy object in thy travel. Wish me partaker in thy happiness. When thou dost meet good hap, and in thy danger, if ever danger do environ thee, commend thy grievance to my holy prayers, for I will be thy headsman, Valentine. I read to you these lines because whatever Proteus declared here, his undiluted love for Valentine and his best wishes and prayers, they all will prove false later, we'll find. Okay. Now what happened? This is Julia. Proteus continues his wooing to Julia. He sends his love letters to Julia, who apparently shows her grievance but is eager to get them. And Julia's maid, who takes these letters to her, he just shows her anger. She just shows her anger to her. But even the maid knows that how miserable and how eager her mistress is to read them. Now, Antonio Proteus's father sent Proteus to Milan as Antonio's friend persuade Antonio that you should not keep Proteus, a young man, in home. Just leave her to see the world and to learn something. And when one day Proteus was reading a letter from Julia, and suddenly Proteus's father Antonio enters and demanded whose letter is this, and then Proteus finds a story that his friend Valentine has sent this letter wanting him to join him in Milan. And Proteus' story and Antonio's friend who persuaded Antonio to send Proteus to somewhere else from this stagnant life, they both match. And Antonio feels that so Valentine is enjoying a life in Milan, learning things, so his son must go there and join Valentine. So Antonio said Proteus to go there and join Valentine. Valentine is revealed to be in love with the Duke's daughter Silvia in the court of Milan. And now Valentine, who was always not in favor of love, he falls in love with Silvia in the court of Milan with the Duke's daughter. This is the Duke grumpy faced, and this is sweet Silvia. Proteus bids farewell to Julia. They exchange rings and Proteus vows constancy to her. So Proteus vows his best wishes and his friendship for Valentine. Again Proteus vows his love, consistent love for Julia. And in the course of the drama, we find that in these two respects, Julia proves false. Proteus arrives at the court of Milan and immediately falls in love with Silvia. So Silvia, Valentine is already in love with Silvia. And when Proteus came to Valentine, Proteus also falls in love with Silvia. Now Julia, after Proteus's departure, she feels very lonely and she wants to go after Proteus, disguised as a page. Next, what happened? Valentine exposes his plan to elope with Silvia to Proteus. Valentine believes his friend. So Valentine says everything about his secret plan, that he is going to elope with Silvia at night. But Proteus betrays the secret of his friend. He discloses to the Duke of Milan that Valentine's plan to elope with Silvia. The Duke banishes Valentine. Next, what happens? Proteus tries to entertain and woo Silvia with music and poetry. Now, when Valentine is banished, a group of outlaws capture Valentine. And when they learn about Valentine's poor fate, they sympathize with him and adopt him as their captain. Julia arrives in court of Milan in disguise as a page boy. Proteus takes Julia disguised as Sebastian. So you have to remember this point. What name Julia takes as a page, that is Sebastian, into his service. He sends her to Silvia with a letter and a ring that Julia gave him. So they exchange ring, means Proteus, this ring point is important, so I am telling in details. Proteus gives a ring to Julia, and in exchange Julia also gives a ring to Proteus. So there were two rings. Now, number one ring that Proteus gives to Julia is at Julia's hand or with Julia, not in her hand and now. But Julia, that ring that Julia gives Proteus, that ring Proteus sends to Silvia through Julia. So you can imagine Julia's mental condition. She has come in search of Proteus and to show her constancy, and to find if Proteus is in love with her. She is now in a miserable state. The Proteus is wooing Sylvia. Proteus is trying to be in the heart of Sylvia, and the ring, that very ring that Julia gives Proteus, is now she is sending that ring to Sylvia. How will you feel? In the meantime, Eclamor, he is another suitor of Sylvia. He agrees to help Sylvia run away so that he can be reunited with Valentine. This is actual love. Now, on her way through the forest, Sylvia is seized by a band of robbers. And these robbers are those robbers who previously make Valentine their captain. Now, before the robbers can take Sylvia to Valentine, Proteus follows Sylvia and rescues her from the robbers, but starts to praise her for marrying him. Now Valentine appears in the scene. When Proteus feels remorse and repentant after finding Valentine for his deeds, Valentine is so broad-hearted person that he forgives him and even agrees to give up Sylvia's hand for his friend. When Valentine finds that Proteus loves Sylvia so miserably, he says, okay, then I am refusing my love for Sylvia. So, in this point, I want to say something. So, Sylvia has nothing to say. It is like our Bengali epic, Mahabharata, where Draupadi was a character who was married to 5 husbands, and no one asked for her opinion, because no one asked for a woman's opinion. And this point, I think that it is relevant in Indian context, but I find it is also relevant in Shakespeare's time. I don't know even that now it is relevant or not, but no one asked for Sylvia's consent, whom Sylvia wants. Sylvia flees from her comfort, her house, her security to get Valentine. And now when Valentine is finding that Proteus is in love with Sylvia, Valentine is saying, okay, I am giving away Sylvia for you. Sylvia is not a property to give away. No one is asking what Sylvia wants. So here lies the flaw in Valentine's character. Maybe this flaw is the flaw of patriarchy. Anyway, now what happened? Julia, disguised as a page, fainted. Because Julia feels, oh my god. Now if Valentine is giving up Sylvia for Proteus, and Proteus will say, yes, I want Sylvia, I am going to marry Sylvia. And if Sylvia says nothing, because Sylvia's opinion is nothing important here. She is just a plaything, just a puppet in the show. So apprehending the situation, Julia just fainted. And when Julia recovers from her unconsciousness, she offers Proteus that ring that Proteus gives her at the time of his departure. So this ring, this ring Julia shows Proteus. And now Proteus recognizes the ring and also recognizes Julia. Julia reveals her true identity and is reconciled with Proteus. The Duke comes to the scene now with Thurio. Who is Thurio? Thurio is another suitor for Sylvia, whom the Duke has chosen for Sylvia. So everyone is choosing Sylvia's fate, except Sylvia. Though Thurio claims Sylvia at first, when Valentine threats him, he draws back. Thurio proves his coward nature. He is a coward man. So the Duke gets angry with Thurio. Hopeless. Duke agrees Valentine shall marry Sylvia. So everything solved. It is the weakest of Shakespeare's play, it is said. Julia pardons Proteus even after so many flaws, and even Valentine pardons Proteus, even he just forgive him, live, and Valentine is ready to forsake Sylvia for Proteus. This thing is not so much heightened, I think. So every problem is resolved. Proteus gets Julia, Valentine gets Sylvia, and they will marry and live happily ever after. Okay, have a look at the dramatic person. Proteus, a young gentleman of Verona. When the play begins, he appears as a faithful lover and sincere friend, but he transforms completely when he meets Sylvia in the court of Milan. He betrays his friend and his love as well. Antonio, he is Proteus's father. Valentine, he is the other gentleman of Verona and friend of Proteus. Julia is Proteus's first love in Verona. Later she disguised as a page and takes the name Sebastian. Lucita, Julia's maid, who used to take the letters from Proteus. Sylvia, she is the daughter of Duke of Milan. Though she is wooed by several suitors, she loves Valentine. Duke of Milan is Sylvia's father. Speed is Valentine's servant. He is clever and witty. Lounge is Proteus's servant, and his clown is, and he is also witty. Crab is Lounge's dog. And very often Lounge used to address impassioned monologues to it. Thurio, the Duke's preferred suitor for his daughter Sylvia. Eclamau, a knight who has taken a vow of chastity after the death of his love. He is one of the suitors of Sylvia. He helps Sylvia in her escape from Milan in pursuit of Valentine. Now have a look at some bullet points. Number 1, genre comedy. Number 2, the play is written between 1589 to 1593. Number 3, published in 1623. First performed most probably by 1598. Source: the Proteus Valentine plot has a similarity to the story of Titus and Gesippus from Boccaccio's Decameron. Spanish pastoral romance called Diana Enamorada, 1542, translated into English in 1594 by George D. Montemeoris, is another source. Okay. The play is divided into 5 acts. The major themes are friendship, love, lust, ambition, infidelity, character transformation, betrayal, sacrifice, etc. Setting of the play: Verona, court of Milan, and a forest near Mantua. At the end of the play, Julia meets and characterizes Sylvia as a virtuous gentlewoman, mild and beautiful. So this is told by Julia regarding Sylvia. In Act 2, Sylvia compares her love to the movement of a stream. Julia dressed as a page and name is Sebastian to discover the truth about Proteus's love for her. Lounge suffers emotional separation from the ungrateful crab. It is his dog. The Duke finds inside Valentine's cloak what? A love letter and a ladder, which he planned to use in their plan of elopement. The role that the honorable band of thieves offer Valentine in Act 4 to be the general of their gang. Now 15. The Duke wants Thurio to marry his daughter Sylvia. Lance's dog Crab relieves himself under the Duke's table. So with this, today we finish our discussion on Shakespeare's comedy, Shakespeare's play, Two Gentlemen of Verona. Thank you very much.